Welcome back to Blue Rush. It's our New York Giants podcast from the New York Post. I'm Super Bowl champ Brandon London, and joined by my two-time Giants Super Bowl champ teammate, the great, the honorable Lawrence Tynes is in the building. We don't have Paul today. He's still out there in Vegas. He travels on Monday, but we do have a special guest, one of my boys, one of my former Dolphins teammates, but he played with the Giants for 3 seasons, from 2008 to 2010. He also played with the Raiders for 2 seasons, from 2011 and 2012. So he could give us a great perspective on both teams. The Giants got crushed by the Raiders, as you know, 30-6. He also coached with Antonio Pierce at Arizona State from 2018 to 2020. Let's welcome Derek Hagan in the building. D. Hagan, what's going on, my man?
Man, appreciate
that's
that.
A lot of credentials. I get it right. Because there's a bunch of other teams you played for too, my man.
Yeah, man, I was well traveled, but that's a great introduction, man. The only thing is I'm missing. I don't have that Super Bowl swag that you and Tynes got. I miss both Super Bowls that you guys got. But other than that, man, it's a lot of fun. That's for sure. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Did y'all overlap Tynes?
Oh yeah, me and D. Hague were together 8, 9, and 10.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, listen, fantastic. We'll get to the Giants Raiders game, but this dude, you talk about a football player, special teams, offense, anything you need it. Yeah. And I think, Derek, you could probably speak to that as why you probably stuck around as long as you did. But these young kids learn how to cover kicks, man, play special teams, and you'll make a nice little career out of it like you did. So, yeah, no, I'm glad you're on. Thanks for coming on.
D.
Man, appreciate you guys.
We overlapped in 2008 with Dolphins. We played there, and you moved on, play some places. But what's the like Tynes say, you did everything. So talk to the viewers right now. We'll get into the game as well, but talk to the viewers about the key to longevity in this league, man.
Man, I think it's just doing things the right way. Understanding your role, and it's once you come into the league, you got to understand you're not going to be the number one guy. Everybody wants to be the number one guy. You know what I mean? But when you get to a roster, they already have a number 1 and number 2 receiver on that roster, just if you're coming in as a rookie, And I think, for myself, when I first got drafted to the Dolphins, we had Chris Chambers, we had Marty Booker, and we had Wes Welker. So where was that going to leave me at? Yeah, I'm the new guy coming in, but I had to figure out a role. And the first thing for me, it started on special teams. It started at gunner, then learning how to cover kick, and then just going out there and performing, because I knew I wasn't going to get, let's just say 40, 50, 60 snaps on offense. Now, I got about 30, but then I got another 30 on special teams because, you'll play that many snaps. So that totals up to 60 snaps. But the more you can do, the better. And at the end of the day, it's a job, and you want to stay as long as you can. And I just figured out my role as I got older. And, even though I still trained like I was a number 1 and made sure I was prepared and ready to go each and every day. And I just went out there and tried to do it.
You're a guy who made the most out of the business side of the sport. Again, like you said, a lot of guys are used to being number 1. They want to come in, be number 1. But then when the business hit them, they don't know how to adapt to the next situation. You got the chance to play with Antonio Pierce. You got to coach with him as well. I mean, talk about it, man. I know we're kind of conflicted going into this game because you want the Giants to win. You want a good podcast. You need viewership. But then a guy like AP, you got to coach with him. What was he like in college? And are you surprised that he came out, galvanized that team, and got a win like this?
No, not at all. Because one thing you're going to get from AP, he's going to keep it 100. He's going to tell it like it is. And if you don't like it, so be it. But he's going to come in, and he, just from that standpoint, he wants his guys playing with a lot of swag, man. And I think the way he played, when he put those pads on, he wanted you to feel it. And just talking about that, AP is a leader, and a lot of guys can't do that. Some guys have it, some guys don't. But AP, I think he's got both, because he understands the game as a player, and now he understands the game as a coach. And you saw it today. The way the Raiders played, they really came out ready to go. And something happened in that locker room, and he lit a fire up under those guys, and they came ready to play today.
Yeah, I think this really just shows you the mental side of football, right? It's the same roster. It's the same players. Everyone's the same, except the messaging changed, the leadership changed, the swag changed. And it's crazy to me. And that's why I say to all my friends, and I'm sure people ask you guys the same things. People always say, well, coaching is this and coaching is that. I said coaching is the most important thing in the NFL. Of all the professional sports, I really do think coaching in the NFL matters more than any other sport, professional sport out there. And you saw what Antonio Pierce was able to do in 5 days' time, 6 days' time, maybe shorter than that because it played on Monday night. This team just looked completely different. You knew what they were going to look like just because of who AP is. The first drive, and we'll talk about Daniel Jones's injury, but Daniel Jones didn't play very well before that. You know, they were running the ball a little bit, but he missed some throws. But the way they came out and played, I mean, this team, who knows what can happen, right? You know, we saw Rich Bisaccia do it a couple years ago, take them to the playoffs. They've got a good roster, but I'm happy for AP because this sets him up, hopefully, to be given real consideration to get this head job at the end of the year.
DA, that's one side of the high of football, interim coach winning his first game like that. The low, the other side of it, Daniel Jones coming back 3 games after a neck injury. And you can't blame it on the MetLife turf there because you're playing on some really nice grass. I've been to a Chelsea match on the pitch there at Allegiant Stadium. That's good grass. For him to go down, again, the storyline of sport, each individual journey. Like what was your initial thoughts when you saw Daniel Jones go down like that?
Well, obviously, you never want to see that a athlete go down. We know injuries are going to happen, and it kind of, sucks for Daniel Jones because you just paid him a whole lot of money. Now this injury just came up, and prior to the injury, it's not like he's been playing that well anyway. So injuries happen, and you got to have that next man up mentality. But at that quarterback position, knowing that Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley is the face of the franchise, it makes it tough. Last week, starting Tyrod Taylor, now you're starting now another quarterback comes in, but it's just one of those things you got to deal with. It sucks to be in Daniel Jones' shoes, and hopefully he'll have a speedy recovery, get back. But now it puts the Giants in limbo at the quarterback position.
Tynes, because of injury, let's stop right now in terms of, let's say, Daniel Jones' career. Right now it's about him getting healthy and all that. Let's say he never plays it down again as a New York Giant. Would it be considered or compared to like a Akeem Nicks or a Kenny Phillips, to where it's like you saw the talent was there, but injuries kind of stopped them from their true greatness and being in like a Giants Ring of Honor, that sort of thing?
Man, we had no, absolutely. It's a great question because we had so many players, and Derek will remember this. Hakeem Nicks. I mean, even Manningham had an ACL, and then Steve Smith. Yeah. I always say the USC Steve Smith. Yeah. And then these guys never got the bag. That's the only silver lining for Daniel is he did get some money, right? If you think about Hakeem and Mario and Steve Smith, these guys never got that second contract. And I get it. People would trade money for health, but this is a franchise-altering injury for the future, if that makes sense. Because they paid him, because of where we're at in the season, there's 8 games left, and it looks like it's an ACL. We don't know for sure yet, but if it is, and he misses the next 8 games, and he has to have surgery, and he's out for a year, you're talking November of 2024. What do you have to do in the meantime, right? You have to go get a quarterback. I don't know. Do you keep Tyrod Taylor one more year and think Daniel Jones is the answer? But I just think this could be a franchise-altering injury. And we don't know all the specifics yet because we're recording this show right after the game. But
tell them right now. Tell them what time it is, Tynes, just so people.
Well, yeah. So it's whatever. It's 7:15 Central Time. Okay. Post game 8:15 Eastern Time. So the day of the game. I think it could be that kind of thing. And Daniel Jones has always been the what if, right? What if the offensive line was better? What if he had a receiver? What if? Time's running out, to be quite honest. And then this unfortunate injury happens and you hate to see it, but teams have to move on. Businesses have to move on. And quite frankly, they might just have to move on in the offseason.
Yeah, there's 2 images in my head. Is one, the picture of Brendan Brown and Joe Shane being at the USC Washington game, And then you look at the Kyler Murray situation right now. When he suffered his ACL injury, and he's not yet ready to play under a new coach, new regime down there in Arizona. So you look at the time on how long you think he's going to be back to 100%. Hagan, you've been in a lot of locker rooms, man, like just in terms of overall effort from what you saw today. You've been around a bunch of OGs in this game. What would you say? What would some of the top-notch players that you've played with, what would they say to the Giants players today in terms of the effort that was put on tape?
From that standpoint, it's got to be better, plain and simple. Going into this game, you knew on both sides of the ball, whether it was the Giants or the Raiders, both teams were struggling to score. All right, both teams were at the bottom of the league. I think they both were ranked 31st, 30 and 31st and 32nd in the league as far as scoring is concerned, and that's been a huge issue for both teams. But they just got to come out and play. It's when you're on that football field, you got to forget about everything that's going on and just go out there and play fast. It's sometimes you're going to make mistakes, but as long as you're making mistakes at full speed, that's something that coaches can live with. And when it doesn't seem like you're out there giving maximum effort, that's going to be a problem. And that coaching staff and those players, they're going to have to look each other in the mirror and really try to figure this thing out, because now you're sitting there at 2-7 and still trying to figure out where you guys are going to go from here.
So when you're talking about judging effort, like how do you judge an effort or evaluate an effort on people jumping off sides on 4th and inches? Those sort of self-inflicted penalties, you've been around a lot of great coaches in this game. What would they say to a squad?
They tell you settle down and get it together. I mean, when you look at, the offensive line for the Giants obviously has been a huge problem all season long. Today, giving up 8 sacks to the Raiders. And to me, pass rushing, offensive line play, you got to win your one-on-one matchups. And just looking at the Giants as a whole, there's not too many guys that are winning their one-on-one matchups outside of, let's say, Saquon Barkley and Kayvon Thibodeau. Other than that,
and Michael McFadden as well too. Give those two still showed up. Go ahead. No, my bad.
Okay, but it's you got to be able to do your job and do it at a high level. And a lot of these guys right now, they're not getting the job done, and it's starting to show up each and every week.
Yeah, no, it's a huge challenge. Derek, what's the worst team you ever played on, like record-wise, in the league?
Man, I think my last year, 2014, 2015, Tennessee Titans, we were 2-14.
Okay. So yeah. So and people ask me this, and I'm not trying to be a smartass here, but I was on a team 7-9 was our worst record, I believe, in Kansas City one year. Mm-hmm. The rest of my 10 other seasons were all winning seasons, like 9-7, 8-8, 10-6, whatever. What is that like? Like in the locker room? Is that, 2 wins. So did you guys get the 2 wins early? Were they late, middle? But you guys probably knew you were out of it by November.
Oh yeah, I believe we won the first game of the year in KC.
Okay,
we had beat the Chiefs, and then I think we didn't win our next game till towards the end of the season. So that is tough. You know what I mean? Because obviously you come to work. Yeah. Trying to do what you need to do. Obviously, the mental side of it, make sure you're paying attention to meetings, understanding your assignment. And then, you go out there in the game and you perform. Obviously, you're practicing all week and you're putting in the time, putting in the effort, but the results aren't showing. And that makes it tough, especially when you start racking up those losses week after week after week. That can, destroy your team. And it's one of those things where you just got to figure out how to keep it together. Guys got to understand that everything is on tape, and that eye in the sky does not lie. So if you're not out there giving maximum effort, even though you're out there, you're not winning those games, coaches are going to be able to see that. But it just makes it harder and harder just trying to come to work each and every day and trying to be prepared when you're not getting those results that you want.
Hey, I just pulled it up. Y'all were 2-6 on October 26th and lost, or October 19th, 2-5 and lost 10 in a row.
See, I didn't even know that. That tells you how bad it was.
10 in a row, right? Because you try to forget it. So that was the Charlie Whitehurst, football Jesus, the first football Jesus, Zach Mettenberger, Jake Locker, Jordan Palmer, but there's similarities, right? Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Tommy DeVito. You're going to see Matt Barkley at some point this year. When that guy gets hurt, it's tough to win in his league. It really is. And then obviously a guy you paid a lot of money to. this thing could spiral out of control. You hate it, but again, it's past the trade deadline. You're 2-7. Yeah. Nobody, you got Matt Barkley. You don't have cap space. You've got Tommy DeVito. You just got to roll. Tyrod Taylor's on IR for 4 weeks. I mean, this thing is could get ugly, and I don't buy into the let's play for draft position. That'll all take care of itself. You can still play hard and lose, but don't go out there trying to lose games. The fans want that because they want to get the first, second, third pick. But you can guarantee these players that are getting a suit on Sunday, they're all going to go play hard because they're trying to play for a contract. They're trying to keep their job. So that doesn't really happen.
Well, you know where your eyes are going to turn, right, Tynes? To the coaching. So you're on the other side.
This is going to be interesting.
D-Hagan, you're on the other side of it now. You talked about your worst year as a player. Now you're on the coaching side of it. It's a whole different emotion. And this is coming from a coach's kid. Y'all come home with something different with them losses like that, So talk to us about your worst coaching year and what was it like being on that side of it? Like what's Dable and Kafka and these guys going through? What's going through their heads?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for them right now is they're trying to figure it out. Obviously, it's X's and O's is one thing, but the players still have to go out there and perform. Yes, you're trying to put those guys in the right situations to go out there and make plays, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. But it makes it tough on the coaches because you're putting in game plans, and you think by the end of the week you got the perfect game plan. You're putting in long hours, 15, 16. 17-hour days where you're up at the facility and at sometimes you end up sleeping up there. You don't end up going home, seeing your family. And it can take a toll on you. But coaches got to stay locked in and in tune to what's going on because, like I said, they got to be able to keep the players into the game and keep feeding these guys the right information to make sure that they don't lose their ball club. Because as you've seen this past week with the Raiders, they totally, with Josh McDaniels losing his ball club and obviously ends up getting fired. So I don't think that's going to happen with Dable. But it's just one of those situations where they got to make sure they're locked in and making sure their players are ready to go each and every week from here on out.
Yeah. No, I don't have much to add. I've never coached. I mean, I couldn't even fathom being on that side, right? Because, the players – we get to go home. Like you go do your work and you come home and the coaches, it's why I never got into coaching, to be honest with you, is I didn't want to do those long hours. I love the game so much. This is as close as I can get. And obviously I help around town with high schools and things like that, but I'm able to walk away. When you're a coach, man, you are always looking for that little edge. How can I make my guys better? What can I do to make them more enthused or have a better practice? I mean, you guys, Brandon, you've lived this your whole life. Your father's a incredible college football coach. I just I have a lot of respect for the people that do that job, but as you can see, that D. Hagan has wisely chosen to leave that profession and get into the real estate out there and talking about countertops and bathrooms over there in Scottsdale.
Not a bad place to be out here doing some real estate.
No, it's not, baby.
But just to touch on that real quick, obviously, playing with the Giants and being around Coach Coughlin, man, we really didn't have, too many losing seasons, but one thing about Coughlin, man, he always, motivated us and always had some type of a message or scripture that he was, giving us each and every day. And when you're on a losing team, that becomes difficult when you start hearing that stuff from a coach that's trying to give you guys these motivational speeches and stuff. And it makes it tough when they're trying to get those things, especially when you're losing.
Anything else from the game today, D-Hagan, you want to break down, talk about, or you got stories that can kind of...
Man, you know what? The only thing that obviously the Giants as a whole, this whole season, it's we know Saquon Barkley is the guy, but outside of Barkley, it's like, who else is there? There's nobody else that you can just sit here and say, yes, that's the guy. Especially being a former wide receiver, it's like, okay, when I look out there on the perimeter, I just don't see nobody that's an absolute threat. Obviously Sterling Shepard's still there. He's been banged up with injuries over the last few years. Isaiah Hodgins being there, and Darius Slayton, another guy out there. But it's just not a guy that's really a dude, a bona fide number one, where you just know that they're going to go out there and make plays each and every week for the quarterback and put your team in the right situation to move the chains down the field.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Let's see how they respond next week. And D-Hay, I don't know.
Against Dallas. They go to Dallas next week.
And that's the game. It's supposed to be the game of the week next week.
Game of the week. Hey, Tommy DeVito. Hey, happy claps. It's like the Jersey Mike's commercial, with the little wipers. Happy claps. You know how Danny DeVito does the 12-4, 8-8, 10-6. 3 years with D. Hagan in New York. It's pretty good. 12-4, 8-8, 10-6.
Missed the playoffs.
Yes. Hey, you remember Coughlin in that infamous video? And they can all kiss my ass. Whenever he had us in that locker room in Washington, we went 10-6. We knew we weren't going to make it.
Right.
And you were 5 minutes early to the podcast. Are you still a 5 minutes early guy?
Man, you know it, man.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
even wear white socks because of Coughlin, man.
That's
I don't
awesome.
own not one pair of white socks because of him. I got fined
That's
one
crazy.
time coming off the elevator, man. And he said, that was when I first got signed, when I first came up there. And, I didn't know. Obviously I got white socks on. And,
Wait, he still hit you?
Huh? Yeah, he got me. What?
Wow.
Man, don't play with fines, man.
New guy.
Yeah.
Give me that money.
Yeah, give me that $5K instantly. I said, what? White socks? Like, come on.
No white clothes.
Since then, I've never wore a pair. I don't wear white socks no more.
That is too funny, man.
Nope.
That's great.
Can't do it. Black socks it is.
D-Hay, tell the people where they can find you before I wrap this up, man. This is fun, man.
Man, on IG, you guys can catch me at DHagan80. Also, if you guys are out looking for some homes out here in Arizona, man, or just got any questions about the real estate game, you can hit me up at DerekHaganAZ.com, and you can take a look at my free buyers and sellers guide. Or if you're just looking for a home evaluation, go ahead and punch your information in, and you get what you need.
Love it.
Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man, it was good to see you. Glad you're doing well. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys having me. Got to get back on to talk some Giants football. So always fun, man. Good seeing you guys, and keep doing your thing. That's for sure.
All right, for sure, man. We're going to hold you to that. Now, let's hear from the Scotsman.
And that says cheerio to episode 163 of Blue Rush, our New York Giants podcast from the New York Post. Thanks to Jake Brown, Andrew Harps, and the intern, Mason Vardecchio, for producing the show.
Lawrence,
Subscribe to you're back.
I'm back
sorry.
for more.
I've interrupted. I'm terribly sorry.
What do we watch here? I mean, this season is just a colossal disaster. What do we do the rest of the season? Should we break down like game tape of bagpipes? Like, what do we do for the next 6 to 8 weeks?
Well, we can talk about the lovely Scottish cuisines that are famous in the homeland, and maybe the construction of bagpipes. Subscribe to Blue Rush on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. Watch full episodes by subscribing to the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Love saying that. Just follow the Blue Rush playlist. Give us a wee thumbs up and comment below. Do you want Caleb Williams? For Brandon London and Derek Hagan, I'm Lawrence Tynes. We return for our Blue Rush preview podcast on Thursday. Holy cow, that's going to be sad. To preview the Giants matchup with the Bloody Cowboys. Thanks for listening to Blue Rush, folks. Cheerio!